Okay, so what do you see here? So what I have shown you, basically you see in the shell model, one of the most basic nuclear models, we have got shells, right? Now here I have drawn the shells in terms of block. First shell, second shell, third shell, fourth shell, like that. Forget about the individual levels inside them. Let me now just think in terms of block. Okay. Now we have got two nuclei. Let us consider two nuclei. This is the first nuclei, nucleus A, and this is second nucleus B. Okay, fine. Now the protons and neutrons of this nucleus A are such that it is observed that the first two shells are filled up. Fine. Now, what will happen as a result? You know, since the first two shells are filled up, for low energy excitation, after this level, this shell, there is a big gap, right? So it has to cross this big gap to go to the next higher shell. And as a result of this, we will be having single particle type of spectrum for low energy excitation. This is very typical to magic nuclei or close to magic nuclei. The spectrum will be very similar to them. Now remember, for low energy excitation. Why? I will tell later. Now let us consider nucleus B. What happens here? Here the scenario is such that the protons and neutrons are such that, suppose the protons are filled up to first two shells, then no problem for the protons. However, for neutrons, the shells are filled up such a way that first shell, second shell is fully filled, but the third shell is half filled. Now look what will happen. For very low energy excitation, they will be, where they will go? These nuclei over there, they will be going to the shell in between. Okay, so look at the difference. Here they will be crossing over to the next shell. The gap is very big. But here they will be just doing the excitations within the shell itself. Okay, so in a way you can say the excitations are very close in energy. Number one, you can also view this structure as if the first two shells, they correspond to the magic nuclear shell. What is that? Spherical shell. Okay, just like this here. The first two shells are filled up, the shape is spherical. However, these mid-shell nuclei, they correspond to another chunk outside this so-called spherical shell. And as a result, what we will have is a spherical shape along with some extra nucleons. And as a result of this, the overall shape will be somewhat deformed. So this is how we can explain collectivity for mid-shell nuclei. Okay, the collectivity is very much enhanced. Why? Because the shell is mid-shell. As the shell fills up, suppose let us consider another nucleus C, nucleus C, where the shell is filled up to just the bottleneck. There you will not observe that much collectivity. For collectivity, you need this type of excitations more and more, and this is possible only when the shell is filled in between. Okay, and here you will have the same type of feature. So you can think in terms of excitations like this, and also you can think in terms of this diagrammatic way, the origin for collectivity for mid-shell nuclei. Okay. Now this scenario is for low energy excitations, very low energy, say up to 2 MeV excitations or so. Now the question is, what happens? Suppose if I talk about say up to 6 MeV excitations, how does the scenario change? Let's see. Let us first look into this structure. Now say for 5 or 6 MeV excitations, what will happen is that all the nucleons, they can jump over there, and also if the gap is not that much, there can be excitations from there as well. Now what will happen as a result is that there will be a lot of mixing together, okay, for high energy excitation. And it is possible, very interesting, it is possible to observe collectivity even for this nucleus, which is a magic nucleus. Can you give me an example? 16 oxygen. If you go and look into the excited structure of 16 oxygen, not only will you see single particle structure, but also collective states. This is the origin for that. Same for any other doubly closed cell, nuclei. Okay, if you go little bit above, you will be observing collectivity. Now look, here we are observing collective behavior for nuclei which are magic, doubly magic or close to magic. Now what about them? They were already showing collectivity from the beginning, and so in this case there will be more and more collectivity. Now the manifestations can be in terms of vibrational, rotational plus vibration and all that stuff. বোঝা যাচ্ছে? এর মানে যখন আমার এই যত নিউক্লিয়ন্স, the more they will be excited, the more they will be excited. Okay, the more collective will be the nature. Of course, you know, it is possible that even in such a scenario, you will be able to observe some single particle structure. This is the beauty of nuclear physics, that nothing is guaranteed. It is not guaranteed that you will only observe collectivity. It is possible that, you know, there are nuclei where, suppose within a certain band of energy, very narrow, you will observe rotational structure, you will observe vibrational structure, as well as you will observe single particle structure. This is very important, probably new to you. It is possible, and this is the beauty of nuclear physics. That such a wide character variety of structures manifest even at the same energy, because of the interplay between the various nucleons. Okay. Any questions?
Sir, if we give some energy, then it is possible to jump from one state to third state, overcoming second state?
You need a lot of energy for that.
For that?
You see, you will see there is something called giant dipole resonance, GDR, and this happens when there is excitation from one shell to this one. You don't forget. So GDR happens when there is excitation from one to another higher up shell. So if this is your n, then GDR happens from n to n plus 2. Okay, and you can check your literature how the excited structure of GDR, giant dipole resonance. Now we have previously talked about the dipole resonance. So isoscalar dipole resonance, center of mass vibrations, and isovector, where all the protons together and all the nucleons together, they vibrate. So it will be like this. It will be like this. It will be like this also. There are various types of possibilities. So that is a giant dipole resonance. No more questions, I think.